October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. People all over the world show their support for everyone who has been affected by breast cancer. So joining me this morning is my dear friend Ashma Kanani Musa and her wonderful husband, who I'm going to get to talk to him. I usually get to talk to Ashma, but today it's going to be Dr. Musa as well. So I am excited. Good morning. How are you all doing today?
Good morning. Thank you, Lynn, for having us. It's always a pleasure to be on your radio show.
Oh, we love you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
I was talking to Dr. Musa earlier, and he, starts early in the morning, and he's already started his day, and it's so nice for him to take the time out and join us here on Chai Time.
It's a pleasure. You always have to listen to your wife, because if you make her happy, your life is happy.
Smart man.
30
Are all the husbands listening?
Yeah, I know, right? 2 words of a smart man.
No, it's called a trained man.
I love that. Touche. I love that.
We should do a talk on that.
I know.
One of these days.
That would be a good
It's,
subject to talk about.
33 years of marriage.
Mashallah.
And it's like a blink of an eye, really. It's a blink of an eye. Then you know you're very happy.
Yes.
You don't regret anything. Look back. Sure, every marriage has up and down itself, but mine, I'd say both of ours, has been more up than the down aspect itself. The only downs were, with the cancer diagnosis itself, but all the other things, he's my partner, my soulmate. When she gets sad, I get sad. When she's happy, I get happy. So it's just a balancing aspect,
I'm going to record this and take it home and tell my husband, listen. Just kidding.
But our husbands don't say that.
They don't.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's nice.
They think it probably. They just don't say it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with men. Sometimes we think it, but we don't say it.
Yeah.
And our emotions are sort of controlled.
Yeah.
It's like I have to be the person to keep it calm and collected. And, unfortunately, they say women are more emotional in that sense.
Correct.
And so there has to be balance.
Absolutely.
And so I think men will not say it until you pull it out of them.
Yeah.
It's one of those silencing genes. It's right next to the remote control gene that we have.
But it's so important to hear that, because I'm sure Ashma's listening to that, it just makes you all butterflies in your tummy, oh.
Yeah, it's like, yesterday, we're so close, is that yesterday we were, where did we go? We went to Costco, and then we were hungry, and I was like, you know what, let's just get a burger. And he goes, wow, I thought the same thing. I was like, we catch ourselves thinking the same way, and it's a little scary sometimes.
It is true, very true.
We even had the same dream one night.
Really?
Really?
Yes. It was,
wow.
Mashallah,
that
that's
was
amazing.
really, kind of like, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah. So it's all good.
Wow.
It's all aligned.
Yes. Yes. You have truly found your soulmate.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
true, true.
So did I.
Yes, you did too. Love it.
I love all this positive, loving vibe today, this morning.
Yeah.
That's
So much
what you
love.
need to start your Monday morning,
Yeah.
That's true. I totally agree. agree. So, Ashma, you have been here with us on Chai Time. You have shared your story, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we would like to begin with your breast cancer journey with our listeners who are new listeners as well. So, you can share that with us.
Sure. Breast cancer is such an epidemic and has become a huge issue as far as cancer is concerned. A lot of young women are now getting diagnosed. So when I was diagnosed, which was about 11 or 12 years now, and prior to that, I did have another cancer, which was thyroid. So, usually if you're going to get any kind of cancer, thyroid is the most treatable one. So that was, short-lived. I did my thyroidectomy, I did my radiation. And then about 7 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, I was really always on the ball as far as doing my screenings on my mammograms and things like that. And I believe this was my third mammogram. And I don't know, for some reason, when I went that day, I just felt really uneasy. And sure enough, I had it done earlier in the week, and then it was a Saturday morning, and we get a call from the Rose, and Dr. Dixie Malello, who is one of the founders of the Rose, called him because she saw the name, but she wasn't sure because my name is hyphenated. She thought it was a sister or something like that, or somebody. But so she asked him, what I'm seeing is I don't like it. And the kids were playing. Sundays is usually Saturday and Sundays. We pick a dish to prepare together. So the kids were helping us in the kitchen. It's like a normal, crazy. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden there was a complete silence when I heard he said, "Oh, okay, Dixie," something like that. And I thought, why would Dixie call on a weekend? And then I thought, oh, I had my mammogram done. And he had the same look as he did when he told me when I had my first cancer. And I thought, oh, okay. I just shut down. We were both really quiet. We didn't say anything to the kids. We went along with the day. And then, we talked about it between the two of us, and we thought, okay, you know what? We do need to tell the kids because now they're a little bit older. They do understand the word cancer. And how we present it is going to be really, really important, because if you tell them, oh, mom has cancer, and then don't elaborate on it, or at least tell them what it is and how this is going to hopefully pan out in the positive way. With cancer, we don't know which way it's going to go, and it all depends on that biopsy and, the what are they going to find in the biopsy, the imaging and all that. There's so many steps to this. So I was trying to mentally prepare myself for that Monday's visit. We did tell the kids. We sat them down, and Fatima was about 13, I would say, 12 or 13, and Isa was, 5 years younger. So he understood, but he didn't have very many questions. But I could say Fatima was very stunned, and so we just told them enough for them to understand. But we did tell them, we said, wherever this takes us, we're going to be together, we're going to fight together, and mommy's going to be good. So Monday came, and I went and got my biopsy, and, the Rose, which, I'm so blessed to say that they not just help women with insurance, but without insurance, and they treat each woman the same way. And so the way Dixie, treated me, all the texts were all, when you have to do your tests and, you want females touching you, so there's all these females are around, the texts were there. So I got the biopsy done. I could tell from Dixie's face, because she's done so many and she's been years of being a surgeon and, treating breast cancer. I could tell she was not too happy. So as I'm leaving, I looked at my tissue, was sitting on the table, and I said, what do you think? He goes, it doesn't look very good. So, I wanted to prepare myself. Okay, what's the next step? So they, it takes about a week or so to get your results for your biopsy. They actually send that to the lab, and then you get your results. So they came back and they told me, yes, it is breast cancer. We don't know how much it spread, but it looks like with the image and what we're seeing, it looks like we can probably just get away with doing a lumpectomy. And I don't know, for some reason, again, you always have to think, your gut feeling is very important when you're trying to make an important decision. And something was telling me that I don't think a lumpectomy is going to take care of this for my mental health, because I will always feel like, what if they do the lumpectomy? What if there's a few cells, they go to the other breast? So I looked things up, and I talked to him, and I said, you know what? I just want them removed. I just want them bilateral mastectomy, remove all the tissue. I don't want this living on a time clock, feeling that I have to go back 3 months and 6 months. So I chose to do a bilateral mastectomy. And
did you still have to go through chemo and everything?
Well, the thing was that in the beginning it was lumpectomy, right? But when I chose to do the bilateral mastectomy, the physician that was, that I was consulting with, she said, the outcomes are the same whether you remove the whole entire breast or just do a lumpectomy. And so I don't know, for some reason, like I said, with my gut feeling, and they said that once you remove them, you don't even have to do radiation or chemo, according to the results that they had. Okay. So now I go in, I choose, of course, to do a bilateral mastectomy with a transplant. That means they use your own tissue to rebuild you. And the reason why I chose that is anything foreign in your body can always be another issue down the line. So yes, this procedure was very, very large. It was about a 16-hour going under. And first, the breast surgeon comes in and removes both breasts, all the tissue, everything. And then the plastic surgeon comes in, and it's not just a regular cosmetic plastic surgeon. This surgeon, that's all he does is, he removes the tissue from your belly or wherever you have extra tissue, whatever, and rebuilds you on the table.
Wow.
So it was, the thing is that we are so lucky as women to be living in this era because we have a lot of choices of how we want to do things. We have a lot of advancements are there, so the treatments are like gold standards. And so, again, I felt very fortunate that I had a choice. So where it became complicated was when the biopsy from the mastectomy came back. And I went in to see the breast surgeon, and she said, you actually you made the right decision because what we saw in there, it was so precise that the cancer was outside the margin. So when it's outside the margin, they just remove the whole breast. Mm-hmm. So, they told us that, yes, it was outside the margin, and your cancer is a little bit more, it can spread very quickly. So it was aggressive. It's called a HER2 positive cancer. So, cancers have different, religions, I guess, and different way they grow, and they have different proteins and things like that. So she said, we would have removed your right breast anyways. So she says, I'm glad that you chose this procedure because this is only a one-time deal. You can't go back and, do that procedure. It's not possible to do that. So I said, okay, so I'm home free now. And she said, well, the biopsies came back. Since it's HER2 positive, we have to have you go talk to, oncology that does chemo and things like that. And that's when the red flag, like, what do you mean, chemo? I'm like, you guys told me. And that's when I really lost it. I was like, I've done everything in the book, everything and beyond to bring my odds down so I can, spend my life stress-free to raise my kids. Now I have to make a decision about this chemo. And the doctor told me, he said, he presented my case in a medical board, oncologist at MD Anderson. And he said, there were 10 physicians. And when we voted on your case, 8 of them said, she can get away without chemo. She's already removed everything. But he says, there were 2 physicians that said no, she should do prophylactic chemotherapy. And he was one of them. And he had done research in the HER2 positive. So he told, and I just kind of, at that point, I can't remember anything in that room. Everything was dark. And he told me, he says, I think we should just go ahead and do it. That will bring your odds even lower, because if this comes back, it's going to be another journey, it's going to be very aggressive. So I chose to do chemotherapy, and that was I think the chemotherapy was probably the biggest mountain I had to climb. And I had to mentally, physically, emotionally, work-wise, mother, wife, everything had to kind of hold.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only way you can get through something like this. It's about you, and prepare yourself mentally so you are in the mode of not shutting down and being in a dark box that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do. No, you know, we get challenges in our life, whether they're small or big. It's up to you how you're going to handle them. And so I chose to be positive, and I chose to make sure the kids had their schedule, same schedule. You can't be missing school. You can't go, you know, you have to go to your prayer class. You have to go to your piano classes. So I kind of had to sort of create that new schedule around us.
Right.
And, you know,
Still
we both
have-
work together. So that was a whole other, you know,
Yeah.
schedule.
Like just still lead that normal
Yes.
family life.
Love your
Exactly.
strength.
Yes, the courage and strength and the faith, you know.
Yeah,
in-
the faith is number one. You
Yes.
just sometimes you're not in control. You
Correct.
got to hand it over.
Yeah.
So
So recently we had an event at our Links for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
yes,
And I wanted to share this with y'all. When y'all were talking to all the ladies that day, one of them came to me and said, "It's remarkable how her husband had stood by her. It's remarkable to see her daughter with her." And your son was, of course, not in town.
yes,
And she said that because a friend of hers is going through breast cancer. Her family has fallen apart. Her husband has left her. So she says, you know, it is so important because they could not handle it. They could not handle the treatment and everything else that comes with it.
yes.
So, you know, that is what, like Dr. Musa, like, you know, you being the primary caregiver, there was a lot of challenges for you too,
Yeah.
as well. So would you share that with us, and also, you know, advice for our listeners out there, people who are struggling as a family to get, you know, keep things together?
I mean, first and foremost is, you know, when your soulmate here gets diagnosed with something, just as like cancer or any other drastic, disease, one of the things you have to do I was always taught this by my parents and my grandparents and that you have to put your faith in God, really. And then these are tests that we get. So when she was diagnosed, or when I got the phone call, everything did go dark also for me. And I just had to shut down for a while just to recuperate and things like that. And, you know, it's challenging you because here she's the mother. She's the primary person who's running the house. I've been so blessed because all the bills, I don't have to worry. She takes care of all the payments and everything else. I have no clue where the checkbook is or what the dues are itself. She does all of that. And I had to relearn some of those things because I had to take responsibility there too. But it was a journey that when the love of your life is challenged like this, you know, you want to fall apart itself, but you just have to dig in saying, okay, let me be that strong person to go forward and carry her at that point. And literally you're carrying, and when you see all these different poems and everything else, they say, you know, there were 2 footsteps, and says, you know, God, why didn't you, you know, when I was hurting, God says, well, that 1 footstep was me carrying you during that time, you know. And so that's why we have 2 footsteps in sand. But when she was really hurting itself and not being able to do it, I carried her, and you see 1 set of footsteps. Then later on, you'll see 2 footsteps coming down again because she was strong enough for me to put her down and move forward itself. So that's one of the things that anybody, if you're the husband or the wife and your partner is diagnosed with something, you know, unfortunately to run away or to get away, that does not take away the disease. You know, the disease is there. The challenge is still there. You know, when you get into a marriage or any situation like that, to me, it's an institute that says you're forever in love and you go forward with whatever challenges are. It could be a business failure, house burns down, or something else happens in the family aspect, you as a partner have to talk and go forward and see, well, how can you challenge and how can you move forward and overcome those challenges. So that's number one. My best advice to everybody is that take a seat back, look at all your resources itself, reach out to community, reach out to people in the, either in a prayer or worship prayer aspect, or family member or friends. Is you have to have that core area where you can lean on. So when this happened to her, I knew that I had to still see patients and take care of, make the money itself to pay for all these things. My kids were there, but they're young; they could not drive, anything like that. So my mom actually flew in to help, and her aunt from Vancouver, she also flew in. So we had resources that we relied on. We asked them, and so they came in, they helped us out. So we didn't have to worry about some of those things. Some people have those resources, some don't, but that's where you have to reach out rather than just running away from it. It does not go away. The problem will still be there when you come back. So you have to do that. My world fell apart when she was diagnosed, and your heart really breaks up because you're like, this is my soulmate. What if she's not here? What if this happens? You have all these dark ideas or dark things, and you want to say, hey, let me get away from the darkness itself. Let me look at the positive aspect. And that's what she and I did. We started making positive aspect. We talked to the kids. We made sure the kids' schedule was the same. We asked for help in the family, and sure enough, the family responded itself. That made us easy itself. So we had all these resources that we relied on. And then, like you're saying, once the diagnosis is there, you look at the diagnosis and say, okay, what can we do to go forward and to increase our odds of surviving and things like that. So the chemo aspect, and it's amazing, the chemo, they put what they call a port, which is a device in the chest area so they can the fluid can go directly in there. I remember one evening she was so dehydrated, and I called a friend of mine, Dr. Hawk, he's an oncologist, and I told him what's going on, and he says, she needs IV fluids, and it was like a Saturday, and the kids were home, and things like, I'm like, I would hate to take her to the emergency room because all they're going to do is fluid and come back, and then things. So, he said, you know what, if you want, my nurse can meet you at the office, and it was a Saturday. So I went and picked up the bag and came home and put the needle in the area and hung the bag up on the swing that we have in the house. And she just sat there on the swing and had the IV fluids going in there. It's an advantage I have being a physician itself. But that was the idea to these are challenges that we had to overcome itself. And then when the surgery, the 12-hour surgery that she was in the OR for, I was there in the waiting room, waiting itself. We had lots of family members around and things like that. And it flew by because family was there to support me. Even though every hour we were like, how long, how much more, things like that. And then seeing her in ICU after the surgery, it was one of those things that you just, have to go through the motions aspect, knowing that, hey, there's a brighter outcome down the line. And that's what you have to do, is that goal that you're shooting for is that light at the end of the tunnel that'll brighten your day. And then when she's recovered and things like that, and we move on, now I look back at it, it's like, okay, that was a challenge. It's gone. I'm moving forward here. She donates her time and effort to a lot of charity events during the month of October for breast cancer.
Yes.
But we don't stop there. Our passion is also to do charity work overseas, and we have done so many trips overseas.
Yes.
We take our kids there. But the idea is to keep the life going. You cannot stop and say, okay, I'm going to stop life now because this is too much for me.
Correct.
You cannot get off the carousel. You have to stay on the carousel. And,
you have to go on and
yes,
on.
yes, ma'am.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will continue our conversation. This is Chai Time on 99.5 FM. Welcome back to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. We are in conversation with Ashma Kanani Musa and Dr. Musa. And as we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Asma has been sharing her personal breast cancer story with us. And before we went on break, I was in conversation with Dr. Musa as a primary caregiver, how important that is to support your spouse, especially if they're going through hard times. And so, Dr. Musa, you gave such wonderful advice. Like, we have to really stay strong. And I think communication is key too. Many times that falls apart as well because we are so focused with the treatments and trying to, even our own emotions, we try and just bury them. And sometimes it's buried so deep that even after everything is fine, we are not fine, right, as a caregiver. So that is also so important for us to talk about that. And we see families falling apart because of that as well. So, I mean, like, I think when we are talking about this, yes, we are bringing awareness, but also we need to talk about after the fact, like, after everything is done, when, the cancer is taken care of and everything. What about how do you move forward then? How does the healing start then as a family?
Yeah, usually, I mean, as our personal journey and the patients that I see in the office itself, I try to tell them to set up goals. Just like, when you get married and you have certain goals of like owning a house or this and that, whatever the goals are, that you go back to those goals itself and start getting, because when you have something that you're looking forward to, you move forward. Now, one of the things that you have to do is that when you get diagnosed with cancer, I see it in majority of the patients, there's the aspect of depression. It's like this hit them like a sledgehammer, and now they want to move forward, but something's holding them back. And in some cases, the people who get a little ache or pain and they get very scared, like, oh my God, is this something I should be worried about? And they come into the doctor's office running like, oh my, I had this pain. I want to make sure it's not something else more serious. And so they get very panicky. Then you have other group that is like, okay, I went through the journey, it's dealt with, let me move on with life. And so what we have seen in our studies also, when the two groups of people, those who are panicky with anything and the ones who are, carefree type thing, when you follow them down the line, you do see that the ones who are panicky, they tend to actually get some sort of other problem going on, disease-wise. Yeah. Compared to the ones who are carefree, they have less issues of disease. So one of the things I always tell them that you have to relax your mind itself. So either meditation, yoga, and making sure you exercise regularly. That's one of the things. Now, with the cancer diagnosis, when you get there, it does unfortunately increase your odds of other things. So you want to make sure you're talking to your doctor about it to say, hey, should I be doing other screening? And we, in our, especially the South Asian community, we tend to not take those seriously. So your mammogram is one thing, and I see so much resistance sometimes. I think sometimes they're like, well, if it's there, I don't want to know about it. Why should we make cancer a taboo subject? I mean, if I want to talk about heart attack, you really want to talk about heart attack right away. It's like, oh, good, let me talk about that one. Then cancer. No, we need to get away. Cancer is a disease, just as a heart attack, stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure. It's a disease, and there's a treatment for it. So we need to get our mindset away from all of that to say, hey, this is a disease. How do we treat that? And how can we prevent it? So your prevention, like, yes, if you're smoking, if you're not exercising, you're overweight, you're not eating right foods itself, all those things have to come into play. And as a physician, as a family doctor, my job is to educate the patients like, okay, let's go forward and let's get your, these goals here, and let's set up criteria. And if you need to have other testing done, let's go forward with those testing. So like the colonoscopies itself, the bone density itself,
So Ashma, talk to us a little bit about the rose.
Sure, I'm a big advocate of the rose. Yes. I love the rose, and I want to thank you for doing that event. It meant a lot. And also Dorothy, Gibbons, the CEO, she's like, how many events are you going to do this month? And I said, I'll just keep going. But the Rose is a nonprofit organization started by two women, of course. Yes. And it was when initially they started, the whole thought process of, creating a mammography for women where they can go and get their mammograms done and have that space and feel comfortable. They had in mind that they wanted to reach out to women that have no finances or no insurance. You know, our world revolves around insurance. When you get sick, if you don't have insurance, it becomes a huge issue. So every woman that feels a lump and is not sure where to go, and they don't have any sort of insurance or any way of paying, they just make one phone call to the Rose. The Rose navigates the whole entire process. Yes, as being a non-insured, and if you can't afford it, you do have to provide a little bit of your, finance information, and they take that. Or sometimes they don't even have. There's people that are in our country that don't have papers. They work without papers, so they can get a letter of support from their workers or whatever it is. Just something to say that, yes, this person lives here and, whatever. But anyway, beyond that, the lady goes in, she gets her mammogram done, and say if that woman and the mammogram comes back positive, she's not left alone. She goes through the process of being navigated, and the Rose handles all that. So for instance, my close friend, she didn't have insurance, and she called me, so I went, took her down there, and unfortunately she had to have the whole entire chemotherapy, surgery, and she was navigated through the process. They applied for insurance for her as far as whatever is available, state-wise. So she got her treatments. She was followed up for even after her treatments, and she's a survivor. So, don't feel like just because you don't have insurance that no one's going to take care of you. The Rose is a beautiful organization, and the other thing that I really feel honored that I am an insured woman and I was diagnosed there, so I'm able to give back whenever I go there. So every 3 women with insurance pays for that one uninsured woman. So I always encourage women, please, when you have to get your mammogram done. And usually the one thing that I always get a little resistance is like, oh, well, I've been going to this one facility for so many years. I don't want my, records to be, moved. I said, but that is such a small thing for you to do, because that action is going to help another woman, because you'll be going to the Rose, and they'll take care of all that for you, your records and, getting your films and all that. So really, that is my mission for the Rose. There's several other organizations that I work with cancer related, but I don't know. I guess I was in such a kind of a little bit of a dark space when I was diagnosed at the Rose. And now I want to make sure that space, I tell people that, you can start your journey there, and it's going to go the right way. You will not be disappointed. You'll be not rejected. A lot of our women are minorities. A lot of them are single mothers. They have enough money to support their children, but to get a $300 mammogram, it's a lot for them. So sometimes they delay it. So please go to the Rose, therose.org, get involved. There's a lot of different things. You can volunteer there as well. Do a lot of different events going on in the city right now. Fun events. So please go out and, support them.
They do wonderful work. I actually read the book too.
You did, yes. She's Dorothy's such a great. She's my mentor, really.
Yes.
I love Dorothy, and she's done so much, and very spiritual lady. If you ever need any advice, I go to her. Like, what do you think, Dorothy? And that comes with the heart she has, you know, and she's made a huge difference in the community.
She never gave up. Both of them never gave up. There was so many struggles when I read the book. It's not easy to start a nonprofit organization. It is not easy at all. All the obstacles they go through. I mean, but still just going forward, getting your mind like,
Yes.
no, this, I can do it.
There's a lot of rejection
Wasn't.
they got.
A
I
lot
mean, even
of
the
rejections.
bankers, they didn't want to
Yes.
give a loan to them. And, so, but again, they had the fire
Yeah.
and they moved forward. And so that's how I feel now is, my journey's over. It's my turn now to give back to those women that are having a little bit of a difficult time accepting this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have a lot of friends that have lost the battle, and it's very difficult. They fought really hard, and sometimes, your body just gives up. But, maybe if they went earlier and got this earlier in their process, or maybe the cancer was already there, didn't even know it, and it spread. So there's different cases.
Right.
But prevention is the key
Yeah.
to anything.
And that's why we urge everyone to
Yes.
get your screening done and, all of that.
Exactly.
Because
Very,
it's,
very important.
you'd rather not wait for that long. So, and Dr. Musa is involved with the Rose, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
actually, go ahead, you can.
There's what the problem we were seeing is that some people don't have primary care doctors, and they needed to get a mammogram done, but you need a prescription technically, because if a report is made, somebody has to be responsible for the report. And so physician is responsible. So what the Rose created is a program where there's a nurse practitioner now, and I supervise her. So if somebody calls and says, well, I don't have a primary care doctor and things like that, but I would like to get a mammogram done, okay, they go through the paperwork. She gets involved, and she actually helps them out through the thing, even examining and things like that, and then gets a mammogram and follows up the results of the mammogram. So there is that aspect. So if you do not have a primary care doctor, you can still contact the Rose, and they'll walk you through all of that to make sure it's done. And so my job is to be a supervisor for her and to advise them in the medical capacity
Okay.
itself for this. One of the things that you mentioned about the book, these ladies, two ladies, Dorothy and Dixie, the fire they had.
Yes.
To me, women have fire, really. And so that fire is what keeps them going. And that's what I love about my wife is she fires me up a lot.
I
But that
fire
keeps me
him
going.
every day.
But that keeps me going.
She inspires me. She inspires me a lot.
Yep. So when I'm feeling down, I just go to her and she'll light the fire and boom, I'm good to go. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passion and persistence.
Yes, never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never
right.
give up hope. 'Cause
Yes.
that's the only
I don't know
last
if you
thing-
remember Rudy Tomjanovich. He was one of the Rockets coach. And when they won the second championship, he had said, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And that's what you are. Women to me are champions because you have so much you do, and you bear children. And I mean, oh my God, a man cannot handle that. Believe me.
We say that, right?
Yep. All
And
the
you
time.
are like champions, and so never underestimate the heart of a champion. Never.
Do that.
I hope the men are listening to
Seriously.
They really need to tune into the show today, especially today's show.
Yes.
No, you both are just, amazing. Y'all are inspiring so many in so many ways. Like Ashma, your passion and, to keep on, to continue doing this work, making a difference, helping so many women out there who are,
I hope so.
yeah, definitely. And Dr. Musa, whatever you're doing, oh my gosh.
Keep doing it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, the support is so important. Your spouse
It
support,
is.
the family support. And, that is most important. Then you can fight through anything, I believe in.
Yes.
So without that, then, everything just falls apart. So it is so important. And I'm so happy that both of y'all came in today.
Yes.
Because that
I made sure he was blocked. I even got a few phone calls this weekend like, why is he not working Monday morning? I said, I already told you he's blocked.
No, we truly appreciate your time coming here, because I know it's always busy for
Yeah.
doctors. Like work never stops, even
No,
on the
no.
weekends. Anyway, there's no weekends, there's no days off,
No,
right?
there's no days off. As a physician, you're always on duty, because you may be off, not in the office or the hospital, at home, but either family member will call you or some other friend will call you. They need a medical advice,
Yes.
So you're never off duty.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yep.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, any message for our listeners?
To me, the biggest message is preventive care. As a physician, please don't wait until you feel that lump or something else. Go in early. Early detection is the key, because that can really save a lot of issues down the line. So please, if you're at certain ages, start right now. Really go to the family doctor, your primary care doctor, and make sure you talk to them about everything. Make sure they know your family history, and then follow their advice. Please don't just go there and they tell you go get this and done, and you just ignore it.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. That doesn't help anybody. So preventive is one, and number two is to keep a very positive attitude regarding whatever you have, and then go forward. And then if you have a partner in life, make sure you're talking to the partner, talking to the family, and educate everybody else.
Yeah.
That is the biggest message I can give you.
Thank you. Ashma?
All I can say is, we don't have to work really hard at this message. We've already walked through this journey, and now it's just, we just talk about it. It's just a conversation with anybody. Sometimes we're in a gathering or something, and people will ask us, and it just comes up.
Yeah.
Because that was a difficult time in our life. So what I'm saying is that no matter what you go through, do not feel alone. You are never alone. There's somebody out there that you may not even know. And do not give up hope, because hope is the last rope you can hold on to. So that's
Wow.
my message.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I just want to let the listeners know, we know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but that doesn't stop after October. We need to continue working together, making that difference, and supporting our friends and family who are going through, cancer. So let's be there for each other. And of course, if anyone, Ashma was saying, anyone wants to talk or
Yeah,
get in touch.
I'm available. I do coach a lot of cancer women. Coaching is becoming more of my way of giving back, especially women that have nobody to listen to.
Yeah.
Listening to people I feel like nobody listens to anybody nowadays. Nobody has time. But sometimes listening to somebody, you can pick up a lot of things, and then just talking to them and giving them a couple of goals, that gives them a lot of hope to move forward. So I'm always available for the Houston community, and I hope I can make a difference in my life before I leave this earth.
You are.
You
You are already making
Exactly.
a huge
You
difference.
already are.
Yeah,
So-
you are. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Musa.
Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you
Ashma.
so much, Lynn,
Thank
for
you. Appreciate it.
all
Thank
this.
you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Chai Time. Signing off. We shall see you next week. Same time, same place. Chai Time, 99.5 FM.